Cenk is a full-on progressive socialist who I adamantly disagree with, but because he actually wants Democrats to win rather than just whining about it like everybody else because they lost, he is actually spot on about how dumb Kamala Harris was in this election and the massive mistakes she had. Watch how brutal this clip is of him talking about it.
The populist won, and the populist wins almost every time. So in my opinion, and anybody who's online knows that I don't have kind words for Donald Trump, right? And so I think he's a fake populist. But nevertheless, he at least had the smarts, and it bothers me to say that, but it's true, to at least pretend to be a populist, because that is the correct strategy. Whereas the Democrats are like, we will be establishment Democrats. People love the establishment. And Kamala Harris got 90 corporate CEOs to sign a letter saying that they like her, which also means that she will serve them. And she went and told everybody on cable news, the corporate CEOs are on my side. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to lose the election? This is insanity. And then she went and said, oh my God, you'll never believe it. Liz and Dick Cheney are on my side. I'm like, are you trying to lose the election? Because Dick Cheney, when he left office, had an approval rating of 13%. Even if you're not anti-war, which almost the entire country is anti-war, 13% is not complicated. But they had this great, brilliant strategy, which they always do, and I'll tell you why they do, of, no, we're going to get the Republicans in the suburbs. We don't need any progressive voters that hate war. We don't need any populist voters that, hate the corruption of the system. No, we're going to be even more corrupt. We're going to surround ourselves in elitism. And then because we're going to get the Republicans in the suburbs. I'm like, first of all the Republicans are in favor of Donald Trump. I don't know when you're going to get this through your thick, idiotic establishment head, okay? Hillary Clinton only got 7% of the vote after they demonized Donald Trump 1,000%. And then I think they were right to demonize Donald Trump in 2020, but Biden got less. He only got 6% of the Republican vote. I'm like, there's no Republican votes to get, you idiots. And this time around, Kamala Harris, with this brilliant strategy of the Cheneys, got 5% of the Republican vote, even less. It was an utter failure. So the thing is, guys, I don't think there's really any dispute about what happened because, look, they have their own crazy, lunatic ideas about, it's Latino men's fault. They're all sexist. It's the white women's fault. It's Christians' fault. It's this fault. It's that fault. It's not the voters' fault, you morons. You ran the election. It's your fault.
Before I talk about what Cenk got right and what he got wrong, I do want to talk about the partner of this show, Caliber. When it comes to protection, men, listen up. Settling for that generic brand that literally says one size fits all. Shocker, it doesn't inspire confidence and it actually doesn't give you the protection that you want. With my sponsor, Caliber, you have not one to choose from, but actually 6 to choose from, and they make it very easy to start. And you're going to want to listen here because this is the best offer that I have heard from them so far. To get started, go to the link in my description and you can order your free sampler. Yes, free. There's no upfront costs. There's no shipping fees like other companies do. Just place your order and you get your free Caliber sampler. It comes on its way. It's discreetly delivered to your doorstep. What if it's not the right fit, you might ask? Don't worry. Let Caliber know within the 2-week trial period and you're not going to be charged a penny. And here's the best part. You get to keep the sampler as a gift. So there's no risk to you at all. There's thousands of people who have done it. So go do it today. Again, the link is in my description below and you can get that completely free sampler right now. So basically, Cenk got every single thing there right. And I don't say that very often, but honestly he did. Because people don't let me just walk through the list of what he said. People don't like hearing that massive CEOs love that candidate. They just don't. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people look at those CEOs and they don't see them as the working class. Whether that's legit or not, it's probably not legit, honestly. But if you're in the business of winning elections, typically it's not a good thing to go out there and say, oh yeah, 500 CEOs support me. That's going to appeal to a certain group of people. It's not going to appeal to the masses. It sounds like you're corrupt. It's exactly what he said. It just sounds like it's not good. You want endorsements from people who can actually speak to the middle class. CEOs can't always do that. However, that's not the worst thing. A candidate could do that and get by, no problem. The Liz and Dick Cheney thing is the most unbelievable thing, and everyone on the right was saying it. Not a single person saw the Dick Cheney endorsement and was like, oh crap, Donald Trump's going to lose now. they were like, okay, I guess that's what they're going with. Like, if you want Dick Cheney as an endorsement, and not just as an endorsement, by the way, but as a surrogate, someone who is actively campaigning for her, I just don't know what you're doing. Because this guy, as Cenk said, he had a 13% approval rate because he shot someone. I think that's one of the reasons, but of course he's a warmonger, which is other reasons. During a time, by the way, where war is probably the least popular that it's ever been, why would you want the Mr. Warmonger himself, Dick Cheney? And clearly it didn't play. And finally, the last thing that Cenk says that's really good, and he's absolutely right, is that Democrats were never convincing Republicans to vote for them. It was never going to happen. If there was a Republican, who was not happy with the election, because there's a fair amount that did not like Donald Trump. And as he said, 5% still voted for Kamala Harris. If that's significant, whatever. I don't really think that's significant, but especially, compared to the past where it was actually a greater number of Republicans who voted against Donald Trump. But in any case, if say there's 10% of Republicans that didn't like Donald Trump, the majority of them are just not going to show up to vote. They're not going to go vote for Kamala Harris. Like, I know there were some Republicans who weren't super happy with Donald Trump's position on abortion. They're not going to go vote for the pro-abortion candidate because they don't like Donald Trump. Like, they're just not going to vote. And maybe they'd vote for the libertarian candidate. I doubt it, because libertarians aren't particularly pro-life, for instance. But even if they did, that's essentially the same thing as not voting. So this fantasy that Democrats had that they were going to have this massive Republican vote if they reached out to them was stupid. And Donald Trump did the wise thing in that he didn't really reach out to Democrats in the same way that, and he wasn't against it, but he wasn't putting tons of effort and money into that. Instead, he was doubling down on his own base, and it clearly went well for him. So again, in the end, you might be thinking this, because I talked about Cenk today, and I'm a conservative political commentator. You might have looked at the video and thought, Josh, why are you being so nice to Cenk? Like, he's a progressive dude. He doesn't believe hardly anything I believe. And I have to tell you why. I'll tell you why. MSNBC, CNN, David Pakman, Midas Touch, I'm talking from the establishment mainstream leftist media to alternative media that's not establishment at all. They all said that Kamala Harris is going to win this thing. And many of them kind of pulled their punches a bit and said, well, it's going to be really close, but I think Kamala Harris is going to win. That's the same thing as them saying. Like, there's no if or but. You win or you don't win. And Cenk didn't say that. He was one of the very few people on the left who said, no, I think Donald Trump is going to win. And he correctly predicted Trump would win a long time ago. And he stuck with it for a long time. And that speaks volumes to me, actually. It means I can watch him and kind of trust him a little bit. Not trust that I love his ideology, but trust that he's actually looking at the world around him. He might still be a progressive, but at least he is not a lunatic, because you're a lunatic if you look at reality around you and come out with a different outcome as what reality is presenting you. That was not the case with Cenk, and for that reason, I can give him some credit. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, go down below, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and watch another video.